Hello and welcome to Daily Politics, reaching you from Trust TV here in Abuja. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. My name is Suleiman. The promise of democracy that elections offer citizens the opportunity to freely change their leaders in order to redirect the collective destiny of a nation. And for sure, Nigeria urgently needs such a redirection right now. But that promise may already have been gone with the wind. We are talking, of course, about the cost of nomination and expression of forms fixed by many political parties in the country so far, which many Nigerians have described simply as unacceptable and outrageous. For the ruling APC, the presidential nomination forms go for 100 million naira. Let me take that again. 100 million naira. 50 million for governorship elections, 20 million for the senatorial election, 10 million for the House of Assembly elections, and 2 million for the state houses of assembly elections. For the main opposition PDP, corresponding costs are 40 million for presidential primaries, 21 million for the governor, while those of the Senate and the Federal House of Representatives go for 3.5 million and 2.5 million respectively. Indeed, even the alternative parties are not left behind in this spree of high nomination fees. The Social Democratic Party, have you heard of the name? Beyond 1993? Yes, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, sells its presidential nomination forms for 35 million naira. For the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, it is 30 million. For the Young People's Party, it is 20 million naira. And I wonder how many young people have 20 million naira to buy presidential nomination fees. All of these parties have fixed their governorship nomination fees for 10 million or above. So tonight we ask, are Nigerian elections on sale? What are the implications of exorbitant nomination fees for democratic development in the country? And what can parties and voters do about it? That is, what can you and me and my guests do about it? With me to discuss these issues, Malang Ahmad Sajo, convener, the Nigeria Agenda and Advocacy Group for Leadership and Governance. He is a member of the board of the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC. Also with me is Mr. Jide Ojo, a development expert, a public affairs analyst, and columnist with the Punch newspaper. Mr. Jide Ojo is also an author and a political scientist. You're both welcome to Daily Politics.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll dive right into it and bring you what it means to you in particular, the Nigerian voter, if nomination costs go for as high as $150,000 for president. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we are discussing the exorbitant cost of nomination forms of various parties, particularly for the primary elections. And with me, two Nigerians who, well, one of them at least is in politics, and the other is very close to it. So, Mr. Jide, let me start with you. Or actually, maybe I should be starting with the politician.
Politics, according to you.
Thank you. So,
well, he's more political than me.
How did it feel, even as an observer, you know, as a Nigerian citizen, as also a commentator, someone who has the job of, you know, speaking about issues that matter to our democracy, matter to our governance systems, matter to a lot of Nigerians. How did you feel just hearing about these costs in the past 2 months or so?
Thank you, Sulaiman.
Yeah.
I will be very dispassionate about this. And in fact, my column in The Punch, which is coming out tomorrow, dealt exhaustively with this issue. And this is not the first media interview I'm granting. Yesterday, I spoke to Radio Nigeria, and I've been on a couple of other, including Premium Times. Now, I'm not a politician. I'm not a card-carrying member of any political parties. But as a student of politics, I will tell you that we need not be too emotive about this issue.
Okay.
I have followed through, and if Nigeria has any campaign finance expert in this country, I'm one of them. Because since 2007, I've followed through and tracked campaign finance. One thing I want us to bear is the motive. Why do they charge such astronomical fees? I could have joined the crowd and said, no, this is unacceptable. This is, in fact, a colleague in Punch in today's Punch actually wrote about that nomination fee is illegal. It's not. It's not. If you look at, let me say this, in 2018, there was a clause inserted by the National Assembly aimed at pegging the nomination fee. In that bill, the highest was put at 10 million naira for presidential nomination. But in the 2022 electoral, they decided not to toy with it because it's an internal issue of a political party. But let me give you motive.
Yes.
In 2014, John Odige Oyegun was the chairman of APC. And when the party charged 27.5 million, the pressman asked him, why are you charging this cutthroat? Because then it's a huge sum of money. In fact,
and they were in opposition at the time.
Yes, they were in opposition. Mark, that's the funny thing. They were in opposition, but the nomination fee of APC was higher than that of PDP, even in 2014.
Yes.
And Odige Oyegun's response was very instructive. He said, we set that amount in order to separate the boys from the men.
Okay.
Which means it's a deliberate ploy to weed out any unserious contender. Because if you make it cheap, there are in politics we say there are contenders and there are pretenders.
Yeah.
There will be more pretenders if you make it cheap or free. And I drew an illustration. In 2019, how many presidential candidates do we have? 74. How many, when you look at the votes, and it's available online, only 2 candidates has over 95% of the vote.
Yeah.
The others are just also run.
So, but
the point is, if you make it cheap, and that is the import of what Odige Oyegun said in 2014, that they will have a huge challenge managing the conduct of the primaries because of the delegate. You recall that the president, then an aspirant, said he had to go and borrow money from his bank in order to be able to pay the nomination fee. But that is one. The second point I need to make.
Before you make the second point, let me bring Marlon Sergio, because the argument that you made, the first argument that you made, that it helps to separate, to weed out the pretenders from the contenders, is the standard argument that the political parties themselves make. And, you know, so, but Malam Ahmed, how do you see that argument? To what extent does it stand in the context of Nigeria?
No, I think, let me borrow a word from my brother, Mahmoud Jega.
Okay.
We're paying a huge price for, you know, for our indiscipline. Huge price in maintaining our democracy because of our indiscipline. We're really, really, really seriously indisciplined, and that's why the cost of our democracy is very high. You don't look at it just from the political parties. How much is INEC going to spend for an election? 305 billion for just one election. You know, how much are the candidates already spending trying to woo delegates? It's far, far, far above, over and above this thing that we're talking about. So generally speaking, remember I told you here that for as long as we make our politics transactional, we should not cry about the amount of money we are spending. Our politics is not issue-based, it's transactional. Negotiate and transact and get whatever. I had the opportunity of questioning, you know, leadership of APC on this huge amount of money. A lot of them, you know, would have rather the money was less than this. But like he said, there is a motive for everything. And the explanation they gave, to a large extent, may not sit well with people who are not in politics, but with them, it sat very well. And I will tell you that if they don't charge some serious amount of money to use in running the process, they may have to surrender the administration of the process to either the president, the governors, or some godfathers.
Okay.
And that they're trying to avoid. That they want the party to independently administer the process from beginning to the end. And don't forget, the process will involve congresses at different levels. It will involve screening of candidates, appeal committees. All of these things consume a huge administrative cost. The convention itself, if the last convention is anything to go by, the last convention was very tough for the party because they expected governors to make monies available. The monies were not made as desired. The states, for example, states where APC had no governors, it was quite difficult for them to even ferry their delegates to this place. But for a nomination process, you do not leave this thing at the mercy of either individuals or candidates or aspirants to shoulder.
Let's call them pretenders.
The party wants to own up to the entire process.
Okay.
So this could be, that was what leadership of the party, some of the leadership of the party, these were the arguments that were advanced, in addition to what my brother said, separating pretenders from contenders and things. But the truth about it is that the parties need to have sufficient funds to process the entire activities relating to nominations.
Thank you.
Without having to go the recourse to go to any individual.
Thank you. We will come back to what the party needs to do, you know, in order to reduce much later in the program. But for now, maybe let's explore deeper this very argument that the APC and all the other political parties have put forward. Because frankly speaking, even the 40 million of PDP is quite high for many Nigerians in a country where minimum wage is still 30,000 naira. But let us, the argument that you want to weed the boys, I mean, from the from the men, from the pretenders, from the contenders, and that has two problems. One, you are arguing that money is the only way or the best way that you can do that. You know, Should it be in a democracy? That's one. Secondly, you are saying that this is how it has always been done everywhere in the world, that money, because everywhere in the world there are pretenders and there are contenders as well. And there are many mechanisms for choosing between those who are pretenders and those who are what do you call them? Contenders. So if you say in our own case, money is the only way, then what does that mean? Are there not other ways of doing that?
Okay, so that's just one. That's just one. The other point, which is a rider to what Honorable said, is that how many parties, including dominant parties, have enough resources to prosecute their daily administration? APC claimed to have 40 million registered members. Let the auditor or the financial secretary or the treasurer come out with how many of those 40 million have paid their dues up to date. It will be scandalous. People don't pay dues. If they pay dues, you see, it's about taxation. If you pay tax, you demand for good governance. If you pay membership due, and I said in one of my interviews, 12,000, let's charge 1,000 naira per month for 12,000 a year. Look at, multiply that by 40 million registered. We are talking of 480 billion naira that will accrue to APC in 1 year if all members pay. But they just don't pay. They just don't pay because they are
maybe the members don't exist. Maybe they don't have 40 million.
Maybe. Okay. That's a possibility. But beyond that is also that the party is too detached from its members. There is, you know, when the argument, Honorable, you are here, when the argument was made about direct primaries, the proponent of direct primaries said, return party to the members.
Yes.
Let them have a say in determining who are the party leaders at every stage, including the nominees or the flag bearers of the party. That direct primary will have given a sense of belonging to party members. And I advance an argument that, for instance, if APC were to do direct primary, and said for you to be qualified to vote in this direct primary, we want to see your financial records to the party. As a precondition for you to cast your ballot for any of the aspirants. You will see how much the party will make. Did you know that Mala Buni said on March 26 that they just bought that Blantyre office, that it was his CECPC that was able to procure that place for the party. Renovation is going on there now. This cost a lot. So if, assuming without considering that Wadata Plaza also belongs to PDP, I know PDP,
and it doesn't.
PDP as a secretariat has been building for almost 20 years.
Yes.
Since about 2007.
Yes.
They've not, you went there to inspect the state of the project. It's still in a maybe 50%, 60%. What I'm saying invariably is this. Apart from, which is a valid argument, apart from the money they need to conduct the primaries and then setting up appeal committees that will go and do this and that, printing ballot boxes and procurement and all of that. Apart from that, election comes every 4 years. It is this season that the party can earn enough resources to run its activity in the non-election years. And that is why there used to be a political finance handbook and manual from INEC. I don't know in recent past whether they still have. In a section of that political finance manual and handbook, there is a section that talks about legitimate ways by which parties can raise money. And nomination fee is one of them.
No, that's fine. It's not that, the issue is not actually legitimacy. It's whether or not it's appropriate in the context. I'm responding to those who say it's illegal. I'm responding to the school of thought that says but the nomination fee is illegal. The question maybe, Malambert, the question is, Honorable, the question is mainly this. If you need to separate the contenders from the pretenders, is money as a hurdle the only way to do it? This is the best way to do it.
No.
That's the question.
I think
are there not other methods?
There are, but you see, the money as a commodity does not have to come from your pocket, Suleiman. If the two of us believe in your leadership capacity, we can contribute. Meaning, the more people that believe in your leadership capacity, the more people that can contribute to actualizing your ambition. And that would also increase your base. But let me tell you what he was talking about.
90% of the time, politicians themselves.
Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. I have been, in reality, I have been opportune to sit on a screening panel for candidates who were to go for an election. And one of the things we asked for were evidence of paying party dues for the past 3 years. And to God who made me, what we saw was that every one of the people we have screened paid the party dues
only recently,
a day before he came for the screening.
So if
and for the 3 years. So what I'm trying to say is that if even people at the level of contestants in a party, somebody who could afford to pay the millions you are talking about for nomination form, had not been paying his obligations to the party. Not to talk of myself. I am a party member. I'm a card-carrying member of the party. But if you force me now to produce receipt or evidence of my payment,
on the last time you pay,
we will have problems. I'm being very honest, and sometimes we ought to be honest with ourselves.
We appreciate it on this program, yes.
We need, if the parties had been the properties of the members, if the members had been the ones raising the resources to run the parties, you could even declare that the criteria for the form is just certain qualifications outside having to pay money. But making them to pay, to make some financial commitment also shows some degree of seriousness. I tell you very honestly, if you make the presidential form free of charge, you will get 1,000 presidential aspirants.
That's the truth.
And how are you going to sort that out?
Very easy. But it's not for me to say. But,
No, we need to have
it can't be very easy.
Very easy.
In a litigious society like Nigeria.
Very easy.
Okay. Let's have your thoughts.
Thank you. The issue is how presidential and other kinds of primaries are designed, which is the question I was going to ask you. That even that one that we're talking about more or less demonstrates the poverty of idea generation within the political parties, which you hinted earlier, that which ways can we solve problems? The whole business of political party is to think of ways of solving business. That is the entire business of political parties, to generate ideas for solving problems, not only for their own parties, but for the rest of society when they win power. So if you are having a situation where you have to trade off democratic rights and access and participation with, high cost of nomination forms, then it simply means that you are not thinking. If you cannot find a way to balance. There are many ways they can do it. You can stretch the primary season across several months.
There is no luxury of that.
There is no, we don't have that
because there's no time in this.
No, not a question of time.
Even before then, what the law said is you need to submit candidates by a particular
date.
Yeah. It didn't say that you are not able to submit it before. It didn't say that.
Yeah, of course.
So any political party could have made such arrangements to stretch so that maybe between May and June. Look at the U.S. elections, for example.
But when is this present law, when was it actually signed and made legitimate?
No, any political party could have carried on the basis of the initial law and then make modifications.
You cannot carry on without guidelines from INEC. And the guidelines from INEC comes
Okay,
from the law.
let me continue with questioning so that I don't become the interviewee.
You must understand. There are two contexts.
There's
My brother.
another issue, sir.
Okay.
Which is, if somebody has ideas that he believes can transform a party, say you, Mr. Jide Ojo, you understand, a Nigerian, fully qualified, fully eligible by all accounts to be president, and you have ideas within the APC, cool? And you feel that those ideas can transform the country as a whole, and you don't have 100 million naira, or you don't have 100 million naira. I'm not sure whether you have that now. And
I don't even have a million naira.
No. Let's go on. So, and that your ideas can transform the country, but you don't have 100 million. What is the way within the party in which you can realize your dream? Because that's all let's
be sincere. I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking reality. Okay. And I know many Nigerians will not like the way I'm talking because I don't always join the bandwagon to that. I look at what is the motive. We are trying to establish motive. Honorable has talked about is interaction with the leadership of the party and why they are afraid and they do not want the process to be hijacked. So they want to have sufficient resources to do the needful. That is the excuse the leadership gave. As an observer, I'm telling you the reality on ground. The reality on ground, my brother, is that even if you ask those who are serious contender, they will not tell you how many people have you seen coming out openly to castigate APC for charging 100 million.
Well, PDP has.
No. How many members of APC I'm talking?
No.
They will not. You know why? You know the opposition can't. The reason is, Suleiman, there are 18 registered political parties. Wait, 18. If you think APC is too expensive, PDP is too expensive, why don't you go to ADC? Why don't you go to NMPP? Why don't you go to SDP? They will not. You know why? All those people will pitch their tent. You will not see much backlash. You will not see people defecting from APC to go to ADC or any of those parties because they want where they are almost sure of victory. And there aren't many political parties with structures. Let's be sincere. And it's structures that win elections. If you take your billion to some party in Nigeria, you will lose your money because there is no supporting structure to help you canvass for votes. And that is why you see people saying dominant parties. In US, in UK, there are dominant parties.
Everywhere.
But the reason why they have more members is because they have structures to help you win elections. So, will you not, because the challenge is if APC and PDP or SDP are charging exorbitant, then I should be able to leave the party and go to where there is Zenith Labour Party that says, come and take the nomination free. Why are people not rushing there? They will not rush there because they know that they may not get the support structure that will enable them to win election. And election is a serious business.
Absolutely.
I did write a couple of, about a month ago, when I first engaged this issue, Understanding the Campaign Finance Law of Nigeria. It's available online, you can read it. The opening paragraph, I say, if you don't get money at your face, the nature and character of Nigerian politics is capital intensive. I have interacted with politicians. They will tell you, even nomination fee is the least, is the smallest of the expenditure.
Yes.
Because what you spend as a aspirant, look at number of aspirants that have been
the nomination form is in a different category from all other expenses in elections.
Yeah.
Because this one is about your right to even participate in the first place. It's about your right to be admitted into the gate in the first place.
But did you know that
so
this issue of...
Let me ask Honorable. Now, based on what he is saying, this raises two further questions, which many Nigerians have actually pointed at. One, that all political parties have social capital, you know, in terms of the structures that they have, how deeply rooted they are in the minds of people in society and so on. And that social capital is part of what makes them, whether a party, a platform that can win elections or not. But that social capital is a public good because it is produced by many people, some of whom are already dead. Are you now selling that? That's the question.
No,
are you putting it up for sale?
Dr. Suleiman.
And if you do, are you not putting up the election for sale? That's the question people ask.
Dr. Suleiman.
Yes, sir. Suleiman is fine.
Every right goes with some level of responsibility and limitations. We're here now conversing with you on a program that is being aired in English.
Yes.
A person that does not understand the English language, no matter his ideas, cannot come and participate in this program.
That's true.
That does not mean that you don't like the person or you are discriminating against the person, but you have a criteria that he cannot meet. We are saying that for any serious contender in the political field, you know, financing his ambition is a requirement. Just as getting employed, you know, requires a presentation of a certificate. It does not mean that the person that did not go to school and does not have a certificate is being discriminated against. No. It then means that there is a job, there is a requirement for that job. And that requirement is this and this. And I am telling you...
That requirement is money.
Well, part of that requirement. Wait, part
so
of that requirement.
Of democracy? Anyway.
Part of democracy, yes. There is also a requirement that somebody must go to school. Are you saying we are discriminating against those that did not go to school? But it's an absolute necessity because the man cannot go and be the president of Nigeria and you write a memo to him and he has to look for one Suleiman from Daily Trust to come and interpret it for him.
Okay. Okay.
You understand? So there are requirements and those requirements must be respected. What we are saying is that, look, this whole democratic system is too expensive for our country. The transactional nature of our politics is excluding a lot of people who do not have resources. That is a valid argument. But it's only valid to a point.
Okay.
That, again, like he said, the parties have a social capital. They have a structure. What maintains this structure? It's not word of mouth. It's not an intention.
It's money.
It's expenditure that maintains it.
Okay.
You are going to start the process. For example, now, if by the new constitution of the APC, where delegates are supposed to serve for one purpose, for just the purpose for which they were elected, after that the constitution says they cease to be delegates.
Dissolved.
Means you have to restart the process of electing delegates from ward level. So that is an expensive venture.
That's another
and
area
the
where
party,
maybe we'll have to take a short
the
break.
party will require money to do all of this. And if the party surrenders itself to either the leadership of the country or surrenders itself to some godfathers, you will again accuse the party of being hijacked and being used for purposes other than what it was supposed to be.
Precisely, because maybe because before when we return from break, we'll look at other dimensions of this. For example, if you say that it is 100 million, and somebody finds a way to pay the 100 million, you know, then you keep going because maybe in 2027, then it will now be 150 or 200 million. Yeah. Because, like you said, in 2015, it was 27 million.
What was the budget of INEC in 2015?
Are you not entrenching those who already have the money over and above those who don't? Are you saying that if I have to win an election or participate at all in politics, I have to go and get money?
You have to have some resources.
In a country where people do ritual killings, in a country where people steal, in a country where people kidnap and do banditry just to get money, in a country where people use all sort of corrupt means to make money. But of course, these are issues we'll discuss when we return from a short break. Thank you for staying with us. This is really hot tonight, especially for me, rather than for them. But when we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we're discussing issues around the cost of, well, the high cost of nomination forms for almost all the political parties in the country today. And with me, like I said, are two Nigerians, in which one is a politician and the other is very close to. It's so I've never described you as very close to politics today. It so happens that we're doing that on the very day that your views are close to, but it's entirely fine.
Yeah.
All views are allowed on this program. So, what some people are saying, the implications, the moral implications, and morality is important for society, particularly ours. The moral implications of such expenses in a country where some people have to go home without anything to eat, or in a country where people do virtually anything for money. So what symbolic message does it send to the rest of society?
Did you know,
Yes,
Suleiman, even if APC brings its nomination fund to 5 million, there are those who will still complain. It's not about the amount. It's about the seriousness of your... I advised aspirants to think through before they jump into the political race. It's capital-intensive energy sapping. And it's endless expenditure. Those who have run an election will tell you, you need to think it through. What are your resource mobilization strategy? If you don't have one, you will spend yourself to poverty. Because, look, like I was saying before we went on break, nomination fee is the least of the worry of a serious politician. What they spend behind the scene, all this consultation, I'm consulting, you're going to traditional rulers, you are visiting the clerics, you are going to women leaders, you are meeting with delegates. The PAs are dropping something as you are making those visits behind the camera. And that is not chicken money. It's not money for recharge card. We are talking of millions of naira. This is for your cola, Emia. This for your, thanks for your visit. Those ones alone. And don't forget, the moment you declare your aspiration to run, the community sees you as their ATM. They knock on your door in the morning. Honorable, you have not been elected though. Honorable, your daughter is about to marry you next week. Your son just got admission. Their own children becomes your own children. That's the phrase. And none of them should live in sorrow. So you start solving their problem, just declaring intention. You have not even become, because they will say, even with that election, you have won. They start giving you all manner of titles. And that is more sapping, because, look, under this current electoral 2022, they will hear when. You know why? Previously,
the period is longer.
Previously, it's 90 days for campaigns.
Yes.
Now it's 150 days. So look at the sheer cost. And mark you were right on point when you said U.S. election is the most expensive globally. But how do they manage to run their elections? Because they believe in crowdfunding. The system allows you. Obama did it in 2008. The major skill of Obama was community mobilization. Aside from being a lawyer, that was his area of expertise, and he put it to good use. People were donating $5, $10, $50 to his campaign, and he outspent his opponent because of crowdfunding. APC did it in 2014, 2015, when he says people should buy recharge card to fund Buhari's campaign. Of course, PDP came in
precisely the issue, because people are saying that what the parties need is to ask candidates or to generate candidates and ideas that will appeal, that will drive voters, drive them well enough to even put money in their campaigns. Remember, an old woman, I think, in Zamfara State, donated her entire life savings, 1 million naira, to Buhari's campaign, and many of us in Nigeria at the time also made contributions, because people thought that they now have a candidate that they can trust and a party that they can believe in. So again, it might be the party, but I will come I'll raise that question with you shortly. So, Honorable, the crux of the point that Mr. Jude Oje made is that Nigerians are the ones that are actually making elections expensive for politicians, not the other way around. Do you agree?
Yeah, I heard you earlier talking about morality. If you are moralizing the issues, we won't go anywhere.
Okay.
There are two things that drive our political system. And if we don't address those two things, no matter how much you moralize, you're wasting your time. And I'm being very honest with you.
But society has to have a sense of what is right and what is not right.
I'm coming.
Even in politics.
I am coming. We're talking about the things that drive our politics today.
Including morality.
What should drive our politics should be, first and foremost, our moral compass. But I am telling you that the moral compass had not been properly calibrated, so it doesn't function well. What drives our politics today are the legality of it and the conventions. Over the years, this is how it's done. He has told you something. If today you are tired of bearing Dr. Suleiman, and you need a title, since editor or editor-in-chief is not a title, you can't use it at functions. If you need a title, go and print a poster and say you want to run for Senate. Don't talk to anybody, just put your posters. From that day, you become distinguished till the end of your life.
Whether you win the election
whether you even contest.
Interesting.
So the moment you signify interest of becoming a councillor in Nigeria, you are honorable in your community, and that honorable is stuck to your name, and you become honorable all your life. So it's that, the illegitimacy of it is that far. So we can't sit down here and begin to moralize the society itself that we are trying to moralize for. They are the ones that give you distinguished before you even win an election.
And the ones who demand for money.
Because they demand for something from you. The way I look at it is that, you know, far from looking at nomination fees and dissipating all our energy on nomination fees, I think we should look at the concept of our democracy within its the totality of its cost. Yesterday I was discussing on a TV program, and I said, when they were talking about INEC is spending 305 billion for election, is too expensive. I said, for me, that is not even the expenses I am worried about. That during our election days, we have to do a lockdown, put everybody under lock and key. Have you ever calculated the man hours we lose and the business transactions that go to the winds because of that singular act? What we lose for one day of voluntary lockdown on Nigerians is more than what INEC is going to spend for the entire elections.
Interesting.
So we have unwittingly, because we've been unable to order our society properly, we've unwittingly inflicted heavy costs on our heads that we are not, and because people like you, moralists like you, do not see those costs as heavy burden. You look at the 100 million somebody goes to give. I am not saying it's not, it's something that should be accepted as normal, but I am saying that that is the list of the cost that we're inflicting on the people. The 100 million is inflicted on people who can afford it or who have friends that can help him raise the money. But so many other costs. What we are saying is that we need to look at the political parties themselves. Why are people not going to collect the candidature or the ticket of parties that are saying free of charge? Because not just that the parties do not have the resources, but the parties do not have the means to sustain a structure nationwide. And sustaining a structure nationwide includes lubricating the system from top to bottom.
Thank you. So I've just been warned that we have only a few more minutes left. So before we leave, maybe we can talk about what's going on. Because one point we can all agree that at least makes sense of what you're saying. You're not saying that it's entirely good.
No,
something normal.
No.
But that the situation necessitates
circumstances.
The circumstances. So how do we get out of the logjam? Because the question of access and of participation for all, which democracy promises, is still important.
Yeah, very important. That's why I said, as an aspirant, you need to count your cost before you throw your hat in the ring. Do a mental calculation, physical calculation of your resource mobilization strategy. How much life savings do you have? Do you have property? I mean, former president of the Senate, Adolphus Wabara, I think, granted a Sunday Punch interview years back when he was the Senate president. Is there some of them sold their property to contest election? That was then. I'm talking of 2007, 2003. They were selling their property to run election. The nomination fee isn't this exorbitant.
Yes.
But they know what it takes. Did you know, Sulaiman, that way back in 1999, 2003, people were spending billions to be governor? When the expenditure limit was even very ridiculous, maybe 200 million, whatever. But people were spending far more than that, because maybe I'm sharing this worldview. Because I've interacted with politicians for a long time. And sometimes...
And you are close to politicians.
Sometimes off record, when they tell you things off record, you know we are up against a very huge challenge.
Thank you. So
but on a final note from me, the issue is we need to calibrate or recalibrate our political system. People must learn to pay dues. Parties must return to members, consult them, before things like this should have been subjected to plebiscite or referendum within the parties. To say, okay, how much do you think is fair for us to charge? But if you bring the argument and they see your record is blank, even you that is making that claim. So we must all learn to put our pens and pennies to run parties. We must be financially committed. But beyond and above that, the law has also made it possible for you to raise money from your network of friends. It says, current electoral act, 50 million individuals can donate without committing any crime.
But last word from you. How do we get out of this? Just 1 minute, not more.
We cannot have democracy without being democratic. Presently, we are not democratic. We coupled up political parties, appoint party leaders, make them overlords. They run the parties the way they like. Party members have very little or no voice in the way the parties are run, because party members, of course, have very little or no voice in the financing the parties. And I think we have to go back to that and be more democratic.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jide Ojo, for coming here, columnist and public affairs analyst. Thank you, Honorable Ahmed Sajo, also board member of National Broadcasting Commission. Thank you very much. If you are here, that means I'm former commissioner. And the fact that he's a board member of NBC means we are safe. We can say whatever we want on the program. Thank you also, our viewers, for staying with us through this very interesting and enlightening program. What we learned is, well, nomination cost may be high, but ... I can say more than that because we have all heard it from the voice, from the horse's mouth themselves. When we return tomorrow, we'll bring you another hot edition of Daily Politics. Please join us, and goodbye for now. I am Suleiman Suleiman. Bye-bye.